Hey guys, welcome back to another Logic Pro X tutorial. Today I want to simply talk about how to record guitar in Logic Pro X. So I'm going to be using this condenser microphone to record my acoustic guitar right here, and you can follow along to this video if you have an electric guitar, or if you want to just plug your acoustic guitar in. Wow, I can't say that word today. If you want to plug your acoustic guitar in directly to your audio interface. A couple things you will need before getting into this video. You'll need an audio interface and just the microphone. Let's open up a Logic session now and start learning how to record our guitar in Logic Pro X. Here's a blank template. This is a production template that I use in Logic Pro X. And what we need to do to get started right away to record our guitar is to go Track, New Audio Track. And here, I'll just put this down here and I'll call it guitar. And we're going to make sure before we actually start playing, we'll want to make sure like everything is connected properly, not physically like cables and stuff. Let me just get this icon up. Let's make sure the inputs are connected to our interface and that our interface is actually connected on the back end of Logic. So let's open up our settings by going Command, comma. And then we'll want to make sure our output device is where we want to hear the sound from. So in this case, I'm going to have my headphones, which are attached to my audio interface, which is the Apogee 1. And I want my input to be the audio interface 2, because I'm going to be going from this microphone. And then I'm going to lower the buffer size down to about 128 just to get a lower latency. And my computer is going to work a little harder for that, but that's okay for these purposes. Let's click apply. Now we want to make sure on this track here that our input is set up to input number 1, because that's where my microphone is plugged in. And if it was input number 2, then that's where like you would plug in a guitar with a patch cord or something. And so if it was here, the signal wouldn't come through the microphone. So make sure your input is the same number wherever you put it in on the audio interface. So you put it furthest from the left side, that's likely input number 1 on the interface, so it's input number 1 on the track. So now once we have the input set up correctly, we're pretty much ready to record. We just want to get the right gain on our interface. So what I'm going to do is get set up to record and in the proper mic placement, and then I will play a bit on the guitar and check out this window here and make sure that I'm not peaking, or the signal coming into the microphone isn't like outrageously high and turning yellow and red, because that's going to ruin our signal. It's really important when you're recording guitar that you are giving Logic the appropriate signal, loud enough but not too loud. So let's set up the volume or the gain right now on our interface. Sorry for the audio right now, it's coming through the camera. I can't use the good mic because the good mic is being taken to record my guitar. So what we'll do now is strum a bit of the guitar and watch our inspector window with our guitar track on. So this where it says guitar here, and then we can see with just my voice, it's peaking at a -11. So when I strum the guitar here, it's already going up to -2, and that is just too high. So what I'm going to want to do is, because if I barely even strum, if I went really hard, we see we're peaking already at yellow. So I'm going to go to my interface here and just turn down the gain. You know, maybe 3-4 kind of knob click. Mine's, when I turn my interface, it kind of clicks. So I did about 3 or 4 clicks. Now I can strum a bit. Oops. A good rule of thumb is to play the loudest part in your song or whatever you're going to record right now. So kind of jump to that chorus part, or jump to the section in the song where it's loudest, so you can see, am I going to peak when I get to that part. Also keep in mind, it peaked at -3 just when I was doing that earlier. You can click this thing and it resets the level. So if I did like a loud thing there, see it peaked at -0.2. If I don't reset that and I keep playing like soft, I might go back to it and think, hey, was I peaking? No, you weren't. You did earlier, so you have to reset it and then set the gain again. So that's good. -10, I might play, usually when I'm actually recording, play a little louder. So -9, -8, that's okay. We can bump it up later with compression and effects in Logic. Same thing goes if you have your guitar plugged in right to the interface, or you're using an electric guitar. You would do the same thing, except you just don't have to be sit in this awkward position. You can just do it wherever you want because you're directly plugged in. And so you do the gain setting the same way. Standard rule of thumb is go kind of a foot, 12 inches away from the 12th fret. So like here's my 12th fret, I'm about a foot away. And the more you kind of angle, the more the mic is at the hole, the more bass, more thickness your guitar is going to sound, the more bass it will have. The more you kind of move away from the body, the less bassy it will sound. And the kind of, if you're even, you'll get a nice whole sound. And that's what you kind of want, is a full body guitar, not just all low end and not just all high end. So you want a nice mix. And what you can do with your guitar and your seat position is just record a bit like this, record a bit like this, and record wherever you feel comfortable, and then listen back. And if you like that sound, then you know you're in the right seat position. But these are kind of standard positions. Sometimes you can sit a bit of an angle. You can also angle the mic. Be sure with whatever condenser mic you're using that you got to know where on the mic, if the sound is being captured from everywhere, if it's just kind of being captured on this side. This is a Rode NT1A, and the sound only is being captured on this side. Okay, let's do some recording now. So I'll go to the verse here, and I'll do a count in, make sure I count in. I have my metronome on, and I have the sound coming in through monitoring. I'm going to put the monitoring on, and now I can hear my guitar in my headphones and the click and everything in my headphones. So I'll start recording now. So you can see our signal is coming in at a nice level. You can zoom in a little bit, and if we want to blow up that signal, we can press this icon here. It kind of just blows it up for us, and we can get a better look at that. But this is without it on, that's what's actually coming in. So it's good to reference that. If you are recording and you've had this on already, just keep in mind this isn't the actual signal, it's a zoomed in signal here. So this is our recording, and we can take a listen back to it, and if we don't like it, we just kind of highlight it, delete it, start over again, or we can do comps of our guitar takes. Logic has a built-in comp functionality where if I just want to, let's say I really want to nail this verse part, let's just maybe do a shorter section here, and I want just to do the first 2 bars, and I'm going to comp this section. So I'm going to start in a bar earlier and a bar later, and I'm going to focus on this section and get that part nailed down just through a loop of me recording the same section over and over again, and then I'm going to comp the guitar later. So let's do that. This is what now our take folder looks like. We have 4 takes. We can snap up here, and we can also just go through the takes and listen to each take, listening to which take we like best. Let's take a listen here of what we have, and we can start at any take we want. Let's start with the first one and leave our click off for now and take a listen. Not bad. I would go through, typically, it's as simple as, it's a very subjective thing, comping, and you would go through each take and choose the parts you like in each take. Now, typically when you're recording guitar, you try to have it as cleanly in one take as possible, because in a guitar part like this, it's very difficult to take, let's say, the section of this part and take 4 and take 1 with this part. So if you see, I'll show you what I mean. If we play this kind of section here, it's noticeable. The comp is noticeable because there's constantly kind of like brushing of the fingers, and it's really hard to comp that because there's not a lot of space in between for us to do a nice crossfade. You can find areas though for it if you really don't like that part. It looks like there is, and this is where the zoom tool comes in handy, because we can really zoom in that signal to see, hey, is there a section here where it is totally, no signal at all? And as you can see, there isn't really. You can see there's signal everywhere, and so that means it's going to be a nightmare to do like a sticky comp like that, which is why we'll just stick to full comps. And so let's say I like the 4th take the best. If I want to get rid of all the other takes, I can go down here and I can do a number of things. I can unpack these all to their own separate tracks if I want, and I can delete all them like this by just doing Command D and deleting like that, or I can go Command Z just to back to show you some other things. Flatten and merge is like saying, this is what I typically do, is getting rid of all the other takes, flattening them out, and then merging any crossfades that you did within the comp. That's how to record guitar in Logic, and now is the time to add effects, EQ, reverb, compression, sending it to an amp. For an acoustic guitar, we might like the raw recording, but we'll probably want to boost it a little bit. So why not just talk a little bit about adding some processing to this guitar track. If you made it this far in the video, why not? Let's just continue a little bit more to talk a bit about processing. So this is an acoustic guitar, so I'll properly name that. And I'll set an icon, and what we will typically what I like to do first is get rid of any frequencies that I don't like by doing some EQ, and I use the Pro Q EQ, Pro Q2. There's a Pro Q3 out, but you can also be using the stock Logic EQ. And for the purpose of this video, let's just use the Logic EQ so we're all on the same page if you don't have Fab Filter, because the Logic EQ is really good as well. So let's take a listen to our raw guitar and try to get rid of any frequencies we don't like. Typically we'll want to remove some of the low end of the boominess that we get from the guitar, and we might want to boost some mids that really make that guitar shine. So let's not boost anything right now, just take a listen. Okay, so definitely some cleaning up to do. There's also some timing issues that I've just noticed. I didn't have to click on, but you could hear kind of it was wobbly. we do have the option to use flex time, and Logic can help us out by knocking all that into time for us. So let's do that after 2. And this video is turning into a monster guitar tutorial now, so let's just keep going. If you're with us, let's go along for the ride. Okay, let's do some EQing here. So I like to kind of bring it, I like to over exaggerate it and then try to find the sweet spot. Also keep in mind, when you are EQing, you have to consider your other instrumentation in your track. So if you have a bass guitar coming in, you might want to take a little bit more than you would. If you don't have any bass, keep some low end in. You want to think about this track in context with your other instruments. And what I'm doing here is sweeping to find signals that I think could be a helpful addition to the shine of the nice mid section of the guitar, to give it some shine. And so I'll sweep to find those kind of frequencies that I think will help and not be annoying, and then I'll bring it down to an appropriate level. And so I like those kind of a boost in the mids here, and then you can add some nice that air, the fingers. If you want that texture in the guitar, we can do a boost around between 4 and 8K here, and then really cut the highs off past 10K because we don't really need them. But you can see without these boosts what it sounds like, and then with the boosts, so that gives it a lot, it's much brighter with those boosts. And so you can subjectively choose how bright you want it by adjusting these. So without spending all day EQing, we can go back and forth, always be coming back to this to change our EQ. So let's close this down, and now we will, let me just get rid of these right now. And we'll start to add some compression. We can also be putting this through an amp. If we go to amps and amp designer down here, we do have the option to run it through an actual amp. But in my case, like I'm using an acoustic guitar, I don't think I will want it to run through any of these because it's going to give it just too much of an electric feel. For example, and you would never really run an acoustic guitar through an amp like this. But you do have the option to, if it can sometimes can give it a cool sound. So it's completely changed that sound into an electric feel, and sometimes that's that's what you want. That's what you might want. Then in my cases it's not. I really want that acoustic feel, so I'm going to get the natural recording from the microphone, and I'm going to try to blend it in with some reverb and the right EQ and some compression here. So I will add a compressor. The Logic compressors come with great presets. So we can go to guitars here, and there's an acoustic guitar preset. So I'll chuck that on, and then I'll do some editing if need be. So it's already given it a boost just by having it on there. So you can see it's right there. It's just compressing it way too much. It's so if you hear that, it means usually your threshold's too high or your ratio is too high. So maybe we'll go to 3 or like 2.9, negative 19. We'll kind of make slower attack and a slower release. Makeup of 2.5. Keep an eye on your peak levels here. On the left side, it says -1. You can actually look at the limiter here. It's the same numbers. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing with these, mostly the threshold, ratio, attack, release, and makeup, and making sure that my needle doesn't really pop above negative. I mean, I said -5, -10. Usually I like to compress between those numbers, but I haven't been recording an acoustic guitar in a long time, and I forgot how much that sounds really bad if you push it past -5. After we add compression, we will want to add some reverb, and you can use a number of reverbs. Let's bus a reverb out to the Space Designer. Where's reverb again? Here we go. Space Designer reverb, and let's put it into a nice compact room. So we'll look at a preset, medium spaces, rooms. And let's try out this Hans Studio, and then I'll cycle through some reverbs to see what I like. But I'm going to over exaggerate the send right now to get that real feeling of the reverb, and then we will pull it back to get an appropriate signal send. And so you would typically go through like this. Reverb again is another subjective thing of what to choose from, and based on what genres you're in really and what your tastes are. So I want this feeling of the guitar to be as if the guitar player is on a small stage and you're listening to this person in a small venue. So you don't want a huge reverb, because that gives the feeling that the singer or the guitar player is very far away and it's not intimate. So you kind of, for this song, I want it to be intimate, so I want a small reverb. After you add your EQ, compression, reverb, you can go through the Logic effects and be playing around with adding more things. But I did mention flex time, and there was a lot of timing issues with this track, and so we can briefly touch on this, but I'd like to save this for another video, is to fix the timing of the track. And so you can just see visually here, like the main transients are a little off time. Like this, there's some space in here, there's some space in here, like these big lines should be on the grid. And so we can use Logic's flex time by pressing this, and we turn on flex, and then it's going to give us a bit of a better view here of all the transients involved. And I'm going to shut down my file browser to get some space. And Logic automatically gives you an algorithm really of flex time. So we can use any of these algorithms: automatic, monophonic, slicing, rhythmic, polyphonic, and these two, I don't even know what these two are, but I'm typically using rhythmic or like a polyphonic or monophonic. Polyphonic is good because it is used for instruments with chords or multiple notes. So guitar in this case is a perfect example. Piano would be another example. Monophonic is like if you're a bass player and you're playing like one note at a time, or maybe like a synth melody or a vocal, you'll want to do flex time in monophonic. Quickly, we can do kind of like an auto quantization here. So we have this track selected. I want to make sure it's selected, and we can go up to the region. And because flex time is on, we can do a quantize at the nearest, let's say, I believe we would go 1/8 notes. And so that's kind of knocked everything now into place. If you're doing quantization with MIDI, it's the same thing. If you don't know what to choose, basically you're telling Logic here, where do I put the signals? Should I put it to the nearest 1/8 note or 1/16 note? If you don't know what 1/8 and what these are, well, let me show you quickly. Like let's just go here and zoom in on this bar. Between 13 and 14, okay? So between 13 and 14, there are 16 little sections here, okay? And well, there are more than 16, but up to 64. So you can see if I go to quantize again, so you can go to up to 164. So if we count these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So these are 16 little sections. And that's what Logic means. Like if you say 1/16, then if a transient note is like right here, it's going to go to the nearest 1/16 note. So if it's, let me say that again, if a transient note is on the cursor here, and you quantize by 1/16, then it's going to knock it to this bar, not this one, because it's closer to this one. Okay, I'm hoping that made sense. And in my case, I wanted to knock it to the nearest 1/8 note. You can stick to an automatic thing right now and do it automatically. The thing is, always have a listen back when you do it automatically, because even when you're dealing with any audio signals and quantization, there's always bound to be some mistakes, just because audio isn't meant to be stretched and pulled and changed that much. Little bits here and there, you're fine, you won't notice, but big changes in audio will really change your signal. So let's take a listen to how bad it changed it for us. So right there was a big change. So really only one section here where it kind of messed up, and it was, oops, I did something. It was this little section here. So we can dig in and move this transient to number 9. And how we can do that is by clicking here and just dragging it over. But you can see it's going to squish this guy here. So we want to make sure that that guy is also pulled over. So I'm going to move that here, and I'm going to pull that in, and making sure I don't squish too many things, but that will sound better. Let's listen to that. And now it's right on the 1, or the 9 in this case, but it's on the first beat. So that's as far as I'll do flex time quantization right now, and let's save the rest for another video. If you do want this video, please let me know in the comments. Feel free to subscribe, to take a listen to some of my own music. I'd love to know what you think. I hope you know how to record guitar in Logic Pro X now, and I hope to see you in the next video.